Welcome back to Super Mario Sunshine. This is part 2, and we're in Ricco Harbor, and I think now is a good time to talk about the theming of Mario 64. And I went ahead and called it Mario 64, not Mario Sunshine, because this is Super Mario Sunshine. So, Mario Sunshine is a game that is obviously quite a departure thematically compared to your typical grassland, desert land, whatever the fuck land, lava place. Oh, there is a lava area. And yeah, much like I second Nitro Rad's opinion from his, wow, how many years ago was that? 7 years ago? When he did his video on Mario Sunshine. In the sense that, really, the theming of this game is quite strong. It's understated in the sense that you're not in like a totally different location. But I mean, this is distinctly different from what we were last doing. Now, hold on, there's going to be a cutscene here, so we're just going to have to pull this dude out. Come on, get your fucking tentacle prawn out of this shit. Come on, grab it. Grab it, there you go. But yeah, there's not much to talk about when it comes to this boss. You just spray him, stomp on the thing. You already know how to fight this guy, right? It uses a lot of the basic mechanics that this game has introduced. Well, maybe not the pulling necessarily, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So you just stomp on him and that's it. But anyway, back to the whole theming thing. So the thing about Mario Sunshine's theming is the fact that it is, again, as I said, it's understated, and it's actually quite creative, really, because it takes a lot of the tropes that you would already be familiar with in a Mario game and just transforms them in an interesting way. So for example, you know how the second world in a Mario game is often the desert level, right? Or at least that's kind of how the new Super Mario Bros. Games solidified it, I guess, which was after this game, to be fair. Although, you know, Mario Bros. 3 did that. So yeah, the thing about this game is that you have something like, let's say, Gelato Beach, which you wouldn't really think of it as a conventional desert level, but it definitely has way more sand and sand-related gameplay gimmicks compared to, you know, any of the other levels in the game. Or how every Mario game has a Haunted Mansion stage, right? Well, that's exactly what was it, Serena Beach, I believe it was called? That level is basically, for a couple of its missions, the glorified, you know, just the trademark Mario Haunted House level. It's, we'll get to that later. It has its elements of puzzle solving and confusion, but regardless, this right here, if I had to classify Ricco Harbor as one of the main tropes, I'd have a hard time pinning it down. Because I wouldn't really call it the water level. Noki Bay would definitely fit that a little bit better, even though it also has a lot of, you know, overground platforming. He's got to pull on his mouth again, and he's gonna do a little cartoony splat, and that is a very nice animation. Right here? Oh. Okay, I forgot. No, this wasn't the cartoony splat animation. It's just that scripted I'm blasting off into the something, and I've disappeared. And we get our Shine Sprite. Just like that. Come on. Let's pick it up. There we go. And now we're in episode 2 of Ricco Harbor, and this is actually one of the reasons why I've contemplated, I've hesitated to call this the water level, because it, again, the focus isn't so much on this. In fact, this level has more in common with, like, in a way, a jungle theme stage, not in terms of the foliage, because there's none. I'm talking about all that stuff over there we're going to be platforming real soon. Because, it's like your typical really high up jungle. How the fuck did I miss that? Really high up jungle type thing where a jungle level would typically have like some very high elevation and some jumps. Not necessarily in a Mario game, but it's a common trope, to have that sort of stuff. And it's actually one of my favorites, or skyscrapers and such. Or maybe it's like the industrial level or the urban area level. I'm not sure. But either way, with this guy, Wahoo, you want to go for a ride, bud? Go ahead and jump on the blooper you like best. Go on, show me some super blooper surfing and win yourself a prize. So what he's actually saying is go with the green one because you will die if you pick any of the other ones because they have no turning radius. You know what's really weird about this? The whole blooper surfing thing is that the game actually expects you to apply genuine racing theory. As in, you kind of have to think about the racing line, like the way you enter corners. It's not just point it in this direction and it goes. Now with this guy right here, The green one, it's pretty simple. Take-Two, as I was saying, with the green guy, it's actually pretty simple considering that his handling is significantly better than the rest. But if I imagine if you really want to go for a super fast time, you would have to use the fastest of the available bloopers, which has just terrible handling. Like, you actually have to think super hard about when I enter the corner and the angle and my speed, and it's just, what is this shit? Fucking iRacing? You know, no, this is Mario. It's not Mario Kart, that's for sure. But just like that, we're done with this. Does he actually say anything different apart from a stupid little dance? Let's see, come on, talk to me. You Bud, or what I like to call Super Deluxe Cool. To commemorate the birth of a blooper surfing legend, this is for you. Super Deluxe Cool. You know, with how bad Nintendo is at coming up with names sometimes, I'm surprised that hasn't actually been the name of a Mario game at some point. Grab that. Okay, it only took 3 missions, but we're finally gonna actually get to explore the main, you know, the gimmick of this level, really. All of this construction going on right here. This is probably the most, you know, prominent part of the stage. Also, you don't have to bother with this section right here. You can just... Nope, I said you don't have to bother with this section because you can just do that, get that dude out of the way, and you're just going to keep moving through. Now, another gimmick this level introduces... does it introduce... Yeah, I think this is the first time we really get to interact with this stuff. Is these cages. Now, the game actually... What it wants you to do right now is to grab that crane thing. But what you really want to be doing is get up on top here, jump, and come on. There you go. That's what you do. Now, I feel like this is a good time to address the camera of Super Mario Sunshine because, well, here's how it works, right? You have your typical camera control, right? Let me show you real quick. Move left and right. It's inverted for some reason, but that's okay. You can zoom in, maybe not. You can zoom out, and you can zoom back in. And you can also, this is my favorite thing, you can go into like this, you know, pseudo first-person type aiming mode and reposition it. And that is going to be very helpful because, I don't know if anyone's told you this, but 3D controls and very narrow walkways don't mix super well. You have no idea how many times I've fallen off. If it weren't for, you know, FLUDD, this mission, this whole fucking stage might just be the worst in the game. But fortunately, it's not that bad. But yeah, so basically, with the camera, you're just going to want to do this a lot. Position Mario in a way that, you know, he's just pointing that way. Now, you can simply use the L button to do that Zelda thing to, you know, snap the camera in whatever direction he's pointing, but I find it to be a bit imprecise when you're on the move. I prefer to just go like this, whoop, and position. Let's get the shine real quick. Welcome to episode 4, by the way, but yeah, the camera, it's not a problem pretty much from basically 90% of the game, I gotta say. There's just one tiny little thing. Sometimes the platforming in this game can be a lot more precise and, I'd say, demanding compared to what you would expect from a big game like this. You know, for a time, it was a big game. It's Mario, right? He's got that mass appeal, for fuck's sake. And also, yeah, the wall jumping has been greatly improved from 64. No surprises there, and that's how it stayed for pretty much the rest of the series. But either way, the camera is... I really do wish that there was like a faster way to... That animation right there. I get why they do it, because it's nice and smooth. But sometimes I feel like it might have been better to let you just lock the camera in almost like a tank control scheme just for certain platforming sections, because you gotta have the best of both. Generally, these kind of controls are great for this kind of game. But there are times when tank controls can ever so slightly aid in a specific kind of scenario when it comes to a platforming level design. I know it sounds kind of stupid. It's like, oh, tank control's good? No, tank control's not good necessarily, but not bad necessarily. You have to pick and choose depending on the circumstance. Anyway, let's go in here. Unfortunately, it's still early game, relatively speaking, so we're not going to have too many snafus with the camera or the controls as a whole. I mean, this platforming section really isn't too tough. Watch me fuck it up. Honestly, no. I've practiced it quite a bit, so it's not going to be a big deal. Almost. No, it's fine, yeah. So you rotate on these platforms, you kind of run around, and there's an extra life right here, which we do not need. But you know what? I'm going to get it anyway, because... what the fuck? Depth perception, there you go. That's why they have that drop shadow there. It's really nice how the shadows are... well, they're obviously not like ray traced or anything, but they clearly have some sort of real-timeness to them because they reflect the way Mario is currently... no. Yeah, but they reflect the way Mario looks at that current moment. So obviously it's not just like a blob shadow you expect. You can bash those nails right there, but we're not going to do that. I think they only have like lives or coins. We don't really need that right now. In fact, there's another extra life right there because I guess they were feeling kind of bad. You know, this is one of those games where extra lives respawn after you die. So theoretically, you could have infinite lives, you know, if you just keep dying, but keep getting that one life. Also, depth perception really fucks with me on this part because it looks like it's waste. At first, this giant log appears smaller than it really is, but it's actually huge, and so Mario looks really tiny on it. Anyway, we're done with that platforming section. Let's move on. Don't worry, the game does not make it too much of a habit of recycling bosses in this way, because yes, I remember from the last episode we did have another recycled boss, but no. For the most part, the game is pretty good about keeping its bosses varied. There's plenty of encounters that are only ever done once, as they should be, to keep things varied. This is not Mario 64 where you fight fucking King Boo like 50 billion times, or where you kick like a ball. What the frickin' bullies? You kick a 2D sprite of a ball like 40 times, and then they call that gameplay. It's fine, I know it was 1996, but still. I love these little protrusions here because they're not only nice little details, but the fact you can interact with them, which means that you can do stuff like this. Let's see if I can pull it off. No. Spin around. Come on, what exactly? Is there a certain pattern that you have to follow in order to do the spin jump? There it is. See? That's a fun little thing. There is a genuine skill ceiling to this game, almost as much as 64. Now, because this game, it may have some jank, but it's not overall as easy to break. I'm sure people can destroy this game with, you know, absolute speedrun strats, but it's not quite as apparent as it would be like in 64, even like an amateur. Like, I can pull off a couple, like, whoa, I clipped through this thing, I did a BLJ over here, you know, like, you don't have to really know what you're doing to do that kind of stuff. Which is why when you do know what you're doing, it's just insane. This game, on the other hand, no, generally, if you're just, like, playing the game normally, you're not going to be, for fuck's sake, just the lack of a BLJ on its own is just, yeah, a bit of a changer for one. And, yeah, it's the exact same fight. The exact same fight. So long, blooper. I don't fucking know. I really want to say the line, but I'm scared that I actually can't say it because reasons. So instead, we're just going to get our shine after beating that. Like, he's an annoying-ass boss because he's, like, super easy, except when there's this shit on the floor and you slip on it, because, yes, you can actually slip on it while trying to drag one of his tentacles, and whatever. Just grab this. Come on. Next up, we got red coins on the water, so what that really means is we gotta go get the blooper thing. And, you know, I've always wondered if it's possible to collect them without the... No, you probably can't. You know why? Because they put a freaking time limit on this, and Mario does not swim fast enough to be able to collect them all. So, collect 8 red coins before the timer runs out. Good luck, because you're gonna fucking need it, because this mission is okay, it's not very challenging, to be honest. Unless you're going for some speedrun times or something, but really, you just follow the obvious path. The only real issue is the fact that I say that as I'm not following the obvious path. Oh, and that's gonna bite me at some point, but regardless, the main issue would just be the controls, they're just not quite precise enough to really make the stuff feel good to play. Fortunately, you do have, you know, some degree of control over your speed. You know, as you can see, I've let go of the analog stick, and I can just, you know, slow down a little bit, speed back up, don't speed up here, and that was it. That was actually nowhere near as challenging. It's definitely a creative way to structure a red no, Mario. Oh my god, okay, what kind of state am I in right now? I'm partially invincible, but I feel like if I nudge it even a slight bit more, I will die. What's gonna happen? Fuck, okay, I'm so glad I got that on camera, and yes, did I save it? I freaking saved it. Okay, now that right there was what you call a certified Super Mario Sunshine moment. Let's grab this guy without falling on one of the fucking... Oh, Jesus Christ. Why can't Mario just get off normally? And yes, if you hit a wall, even though you've cleared the mission, Mario dies. There you go. This mission right here is the instigator as to why I wanted to talk about the camera in this game and why it can sometimes be problematic. Again, it's fine for 90% of the game, but this is that 10% and a couple other moments, especially those secret levels. Well, again, sort of secret, or not really secrets, but, you know, the challenge levels where you don't have FLUDD, those are the ones where the camera can... I really don't want to say get in the way. It doesn't necessarily get in the way, but it definitely doesn't make the way any easier to traverse, if that makes sense. Like, you'll see me just stop and go here a lot, because I just feel so much safer doing something like that. Oh, and very slightly adjust. It may be a frustrating way to play a game, so to speak, or maybe a frustrating way to watch someone play a game, but trust me, I'd rather do that than fall off a bunch because I wasn't quite at the right angle. Now, I can't just do this. There you go. But look what I gotta do. I'm not a fan of that. Just do this instead. Now, before you say, maybe it's your input method that's at fault. And to that I say, I've been playing video games on nothing but up, down, left, right my entire existence. So, I don't consider that valid, quite frankly. No, okay. But still. And you know what's really funny? Huh. That actually was nowhere near as hard as I thought it would be. Seriously, that shotgun, this right here, that shotgun strategy is just fucking awesome for this. But before we you know, apprehend Shadow Mario over here, let me just get to my point, and that is, surprisingly, I always imagined that something like, let's say, Mario 64 DS, or like PS1 platformers, for like Spyro, for example, would actually be better like this, because those games were designed from the ground up with just directional buttons in mind, no analog control. But because they interpolate the movements, see, I actually like the fact that Mario just snaps in these directions. It makes me feel so much more connected to the character. When the game artificially interpolates between the movements, you know, like in Mario 64 DS, and I am planning on doing a one-off video on that at some point, not a full Let's Play, but I still want to talk about it in some way. But the thing about that game is it's just, yeah, that, to give you a little bit of a taste as to what I'm going to be talking about, it is not my ideal method of controlling a 3D platformer, but we'll get to that at some point when I do that video. But now let's go in. Where the fuck did he go? No, don't tell me that he gets up. A motherfucker gets up! Holy shit! Okay, so here's the thing, right? I had a feeling something like that would happen, because I remember at one point, I think I fell off right after taking him out. But I didn't think that would happen even when he's still like right next to me. Holy shit. Okay, so it is time sensitive, not context sensitive, but like time sensitive. You do have to, you know, arrest him or something. You just gotta catch him in a particular amount of time. Otherwise, does he regain all of his health, quote unquote health? You know, does he get it all back, or? Damn. Okay, well, there's a little strategy. You already saw it, but yeah, this thing right here. I don't know how this works, but somehow just the nozzle on its own contains all of the water you're gonna need, which I never really figured out how that works, but doesn't matter. Point is, yeah, so you gotta catch Shadow Mario as you, just like the second that you catch him vulnerable, you know? I mean, it's not a big deal, it doesn't take that long, unless you're on these narrow-ass, seriously, 3D and narrow platforms like this do not mix, man. I'm glad that most games seem to understand that. And I'm sure that with real analog control, this wouldn't be a problem. No, I've never been. I literally own 2 different controllers, you know, and one of them is like a straight up legitimate, because legitimate controllers aren't super easy to come by here where I live. But typically, you know, I do have one, a 360 controller, and it's, you know, totally fine. It feels good. It's just that I prefer the way that I play these games, regardless of the genre, you know? Even a racing game, even a, well, I mean, shooters, though it goes without saying you use a mouse and keyboard for those, although I'm only using a keyboard, obviously. So come on, just take this guy out. You're wasting my precious viewers' time, you dick. You were not supposed to do that. You were supposed to stay put. Ah, for fuck's sake. Or I'll see you guys when he's dead again. Alright, caught the motherfucker. Phooey! I'll remember this. What are you, a fucking Looney Tunes? Or, hold on, what was the character who said, like, Phooey? Whatever, that was Donald Duck. Anyway. That's her last shine, and we're pretty much done with Ricco Harbor, actually. Obviously, there's the extra red coin mission, and I think there was 100... Did this game have 100 coin missions? And before we finish up the episode, as tradition, I'm going to make it a habit of doing this. I'm just going to go ahead all the way over to the other side of the map, because I like how compact this map is, really. I have grown to genuinely like Delfino Plaza, or just Delfino Island, whatever you want to call this area. I really do, because it's nice and small, but still feels quite developed and lived in. You know, I mean, Peach's Castle is iconic, absolutely, but this is a nice hub world, definitely. You know, there's worse ways to do a hub world. I think I'm of that mindset that would rather just have, like, a level select, but this isn't a bad way to do it either, so let's just go ahead and defeat... Oh boy, it's the same boss who've been fighting for pretty much the whole game. I think that this might be the last time we take him on, though. Not that there aren't other bosses that function on a similar, you know, series of you spray them in the face and stuff, but this might be the last time we have to specifically take out Polluta Piranha, so let's just go ahead and do that. Oh shit! I forgot about the extra phase where he sprays out a bunch of these, like, I mean, just more of the same enemies we've been killing, but now they look a little bit cleaner, and I swear every time that happens I'm just like, oh, gummies. Man, I don't know. I really like the way they look, though. There you go. Finally took him out. They added a few extra hits. That constitutes new game. I like that ripple effect. This game's got some really, really nice particle work. You know, like when you spray the camera, for example. I've always loved that. Check this out. See if I can... Oh, damn it. The camera automatically... That's annoying. I mean, it's a good thing, but it is a little annoying because in stages you can actually spray the camera and it, like, makes it all watery and stuff. Whatever. And this is Gelato Beach, I believe. And so we're going to see you guys next time with Super Mario Sunshine Part 3. See you then.